Everybody was ripping on
If I had
Andre.
$1 for every time I heard that.
Oh.
No, I'm saying is generally I do this stuff with the
Generally,
hand
you
stuff.
do a demo on one
No,
and leave the other one bad, and then
then it's $50 aside. No, because generally I don't use a machine to do it, but I didn't have any.
I got that headlight.
What do you
restoration
normally
kit.
use? Your
You
hands?
You want to see it?
You
Do you
use 1500 grit sandpaper. Yeah. And then 2000 to
Well,
smooth it
I
out.
tried that in a little spot,
Yeah, I think you did on the side. Yeah, you can see where it's a little clearer than the other part.
and I wasn't very
I tried it on my
impressed.
Cadillac.
And we were like panicked, but I was like, it might make
Well,
it worse.
again, sometimes you can only do so much, even on these, because this is really deep. This is in the plastic. So I'm looking at it. I think we can clear it up a little bit, but it's not going to be.
It's not gonna be factory fresh.
It's not going to be factory.
you have that little bit of a haze to it.
Well, the problem
Instead of
is
being
that
crystal clear.
And you can't buy the lenses for this.
no, you
It's
have to buy the whole.
entire
You have to buy the
unit.
whole
Yep.
assembly.
Yep.
Because like people will say, oh, well, if you do this and then you clear coat it, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like putting a Band-Aid over skin cancer.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's like lipstick on a pig.
It's like lipstick on a pig. Her name is Lakeisha.
Propecia.
Propecia. Propecia, you're playing the hooker. Why do I have to be myself again?
Oh, Wick's got stuff.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
I don't know if that's.
Is that a no-no, Andre?
Well, it's not a no-no. It's just a why bother.
Oh!
This stuff is decent if you have the start of haze, but this is
pretty
this is
bad.
hardcore.
The haze has been there.
Yeah, the haze has
We're
been
in the
there.
purple haze.
You know, see, the problem is that it's not just the outside of your lens that starts to deteriorate from UV. It goes in. So what I tell people, what you're basically doing with a headlight restoration is think of it as exfoliating. You have dry, nasty skin, and you're trying to remove a few layers of it, even though it's only a few microns. Basically, kind of what you're doing to paint. But you can only go so deep. If you've ever overused a pet egg on your foot, you understand that, because then you bleed and it hurts like a mother. So, you know, so what you kind of do is you need to take as much of this as you can off, and then you polish the plastic as much as you can to try to bring the shine through. But again, depending on how deep it is, you can't go as deep as you need to sometimes. And that can sound really bad.
You know what else didn't really sound good, but it's hilarious? Random beer cracking behind me.
So I think this is 2000. I'm going to try this first, because I always start off light. That didn't do shit. Sorry. Nothing. Oof. My leg is killing me, but it's okay.
Can I bend down for you?
Thank you. I've got it.
I didn't mean for that to sound weird. Either,
I know. Honey, I mean, I can find perverted things in church, so. That's
Yeah.
probably why I don't.
Look up at the altar.
Let's do this.
Usually when I do headlights, I don't use the machine. I use wet, dry sandpaper and a soft sanding block, because one, you can apply a little bit steadier pressure and heavier pressure to try to cut down into this, because it's not all the same level. You can see, like here it gets a little deeper. This has actually responded a little bit better. You know, I haven't gone because you don't want to press on this because
Right,
this
it'll
can
make it hot.
gouge the.
Yeah.
But if you use a piece of 2,000 or 1,500 grit sandpaper on a sanding block, but that makes a mess because it's wet sanding, but you get a much more even, even pressure that you can actually do this.
Yeah.
So like when I actually do headlights, I do it by hand. This is the stuff I use on paint because it's quicker, easier, and you can do it on paint.
Yeah.
But plastic, especially when it's opaque, you don't want to do too much. And some of these do actually come from the factory with a coating. For this, it's like people say if you really want, to protect it, you 1,500 grit it and then you coat it with really good
Yeah, like that
clear coat.
rock guard stuff.
Well, rock guard you won't be able to see through it.
Well, what's that stuff they had on the fenders of my M2? Like it's a
Was it Mylar film?
yeah.
Yeah. The clear bra.
Yeah.
You can do that too. It depends on the clear bra stuff. Some of it has a lot more UV protection than regular stuff.
That stuff didn't because it turned yellow. After a
Yeah,
while.
and that means it doesn't have that much.
Yeah.
But if you use like a
Ours
really
is
good
bras all
clear,
the time.
but the thing is you need to do that before it starts deteriorating.
Right.
But headlights generally last, paint jobs and headlights generally last 10 years regardless.
Yeah.
So if you keep putting, and most people don't think, well, to wax your headlights. They wax your car or they go through a car wash, but they don't think to take care of your plastic. Because you can also buff your taillights. But since your taillights don't fog like this as noticeable, most people don't even think to do it. But I always do it just because it's shinier, and a lot of times with my cars, you can't find taillights because they're weird. So
You like weird cars.
I like weird cars. Like a certain Sunbird Turbo.
Oh, yes. I'm just going to sit here and shoot video because it's easier. Bobby's sitting down on the job. Yeah, it's okay.
So what are you putting on now?
This is 2,000. I'm doing this because I gotta see
Yeah.
how far it's going. There's a nick right there. That's good.
You put your thumb on there to clean the paper? Or to slow it
Sometimes,
down?
or just to slow it down. And I'm also seeing how much.
Film
Yeah.
has come off.
Yeah. I mean, my nails grow crazy fast, which is good because sometimes I'll use the tip of it, especially when the clear coat's soft, and I can use the tip of the nail to clean it out because this stuff does crack. This stuff you can use a tiny, tiny little bit of water, but it just makes a mess. It's not like using hand stuff, which is made for being wet. So, yeah, so you can hear, especially when you don't hear much.
Yeah.
You can hear this.
So that's all the rough spots.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Well, how come seal bead headlights, like in my old car, never do that as far as crazy? Well, can't they put glass? I mean, it's a BMW. It's an expensive car.
Oh, they can do glass. What is it? Early
Have you-
90s Buicks and Oldsmobiles use glass.
think my
But
Ford F-250
Z cars.
yeah, and yeah, Z cars and stuff like that, they were glass, but it comes down to weight and cost. You know, and someone smacks into this, and probably pedestrian safety now, which is why we don't have pop-up headlights and we have to have higher hood lines because it's glass. You know, they could do it, just like the old GMs when they had the glass headlights and the plastic front fenders. So like 97, I think they went to plastic and metal. But they could do it, it's a weight savings. You can form it just about any shape you want. You know, and it's easily replaceable.
too.
Yeah, it's cheaper. Because you can manipulate plastic and
The glass breaks.
glass brakes.
And this will last at least 36,000 miles until the warranty's over.
Oh, they give you
But I
warranty
mean,
on
these
the
things, glass headlights, generally chip so easily.
Yeah. Or they crack all over.
They're fragile.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen more of the Buicks and Oldsmobiles that actually had the glass from the early 90s that are still good versus other cars that use glass and there's like a rock chip or something in it already. And I don't know what it is. I think they made it thicker. But when Lexan headlights first came out with Ford, like my Taurus, those are original headlights. I buffed them. And they're thick, they're really thick and they're really good, so you can actually buff them a lot and they will come back to opaque. They were never clear, but they're clear enough to let light through and you can actually see what's going on. What'd you do with my thingy?
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's right there. If it got any bigger. Sorry, shut up. Shut up. Which one's this? This is this.
So what's that stuff?
This is rubbing compound. This is the same stuff I use for paint correction. This is the super fast stuff. I use two different layers. I use the super fast cut and super fine finish to finish off paint. And use the same thing on plastic. And then you can finish it off with like Plexus or
Oh yeah, I just got some of that. The convertible top guy said that was the best.
Plex. As long as your plastic's in good shape, that's one of the best stuff.
Yeah.
Meguiar's plastic. I think it's Meguiar's or Mother's.
The Plastex.
The Plastex, that's decent. That's Meguiar's. I think or one of them where they have the two-stage cleaner and then protectant. And that's another thing that there's a lot of stuff out there that you can put on your plastic that actually provides a little UV protection, but you actually have to look for it. And most of the stuff when you go into an automotive store doesn't have any UV protection.
So that plexus would be good on this.
It'll do decently once we actually
get it cleaned up, then that's a good preventive care kind of.
Yeah, I mean it'll help, but like I said, since these are already pretty much UV damaged,
Yeah.
it can help, but
just kinda
it's
slows
just
it
going to
down.
it's going to slow it down. It's basically going to continue where
Oh,
it
that's
is.
good to know. All right. Well,
But I
have
mean,
a
like,
can of it.
if you put it on other plastic stuff, like is this body color? Oh, this stuff. I use Cerakote, ceramic coating stuff on it, and I clean it up really good, and then dry it, and then I put the ceramic coat on it.
So
And I put it on our '78 Lincoln's top, like 3 years ago. Still shiny and smooth, and gorgeous.
So it kind of preserves all those
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, it
Artificial
does. I mean,
materials
I've
too.
seen
It's
a
not just
lot
for
of people.
paint.
You guys have asked me about ceramic coatings on paint.
Yeah.
Paint's different because that stuff's a different formula. The stuff that I've actually used on, because I've used everything. I've used back to black, a couple different. The Cerakote stuff seems to work the best. It's more of a pain in the butt to use because you have to do it in a single stroke, and you have to keep it going. Otherwise, if you stop and
Yeah,
start again, it's going to leave something in there, and it's very hard to get out, and it dries quicker. But it lasts a pretty decent long time, and it really does. It restores the black, and it
Yeah.
keeps it nice
Keeps
and
it-
dark
yeah.
and shiny. Because I'm going to do that on some of our stuff.
Yeah. The sunlight kind of cooks this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean the sun is the worst thing here.
We
And
put
people.
something on this, and I mean it's better than it was when I got it.
Yeah,
So whatever that stuff Ali has.
because see, sometimes with black plastic, and I've done it. Not this pad, but one of my other pads. I can actually buff the plastic, the black plastic, and it will kind of remove some of the crap and stuff from it, and then you scrub it to make sure it's not white, and will actually take down a layer. Sometimes you can use which I don't like doing. I did do it once or twice, but I don't like doing it. Is a torch.
Yeah, I would say that.
And you
they
run a
do that
torch
with those
over it.
Stadium seats,
Yeah,
right?
and you run a torch over it real quick, and it actually brings the shine back
Yeah.
to it. But if you do it too much, then you end
Yeah,
up
then
with a
you-
gooey
yeah.
mess. Yeah.
Gets drippy.
Yeah. But I mean, it literally kind of like, I don't want to say it re-moistens it, but it does kind of bring
It
some of
cooks
the...
off all the.
Yeah, but it actually ends up looking decent if it's okay to do on the plastic, but you gotta, and you don't want to do it like, say, here,
Yeah,
because
it's
you're right
probably a
next to the
little
paint.
hard on the paint,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it'll cook your paint,
Yeah.
especially on plastic, on polypropylene.
Yeah.
Now those ceramic coatings they're putting on new cars, charging a lot of money for. How much does it actually, you think, cost the dealer to put that stuff on?
Probably not nearly as much as they charge, and in my personal or professional opinion,
Is it of any value?
No.
Other than the extra cost?
no, not for the
Extra
price.
profits
If
there?
they charged you like no more than $500,
Yeah.
I'd say okay.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it is
you're
handy.
spending $2,000? No, because within 3 months, it's going to be gone.
Yeah. If you wash your car a lot, it's. I mean, I did my Red Riot, and it's like permanent wax. So it is handy that way. I don't know how good the UV protection and all that stuff
Yeah,
is.
I mean,
but it sits in the garage all the time. Too.
Ceramic coatings will last a lot longer than most other stuff, but you're talking about a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And if, like, say we tried to ceramic coat this before we made sure the clear coat like that.
Yeah, you gotta fix the paint first.
You gotta fix the paint first, because if
Yeah.
you do it over it, you'll never get it
Yeah,
off.
it's
And a lot of those products, when they start coming off, they start coming off like this. And they come off in patches, and you can't get it off, and if you try to put something else over it, then it looks even worse, because you got a nice clear section,
yeah.
and then you got a really shitty looking section.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what the fuck? And then you gotta get me to come over here and basically strip your paint off.
Oh
And
my
go
god.
right back down to just clear coat and then start all over.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times getting some ceramic stuff off, I'd be swearing.
To me, if you just wash and wax your car.
If you
My
just-
Element's 17 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wash and wax your damn car. Like I said, generally a paint job with a factory paint will last 10 years with minimal care. A lot of people don't,
Yeah.
and you'll see the
I
clear coats
used to wax out
fail.
every 3 months. I've been at
Yeah,
it
and that's what
17
you do,
years.
you know?
Yeah, if you wax it that much, then you're gonna
Yeah,
be good.
because the wax prevents a
eats
lot
off,
of
yeah.
crap coming
Catches
off it.
all
Now,
the
if you use a
rust.
really good wax that actually has a little bit of UV protection in it, and you don't like leave stuff on your car, and you're not in an area that's really nasty to cars as far as like salt or toxic bird crap or whatever, then your paint's going to be even better off. But here your biggest enemy is the heat, because it boils this stuff off, and the UV. But a lot of us have covered parking or in garage. Use a cover, wash and wax it every once in a while. Like all these cars that are driving around here, I was next to a brand new Lexus IS 500. He had shit from the wash all over his car, and I'm like, you need to get that shit off your car, because you're driving around with sand stuck to your car. It's bad enough when the wind blows it in there, and now you're driving around with it in your car.
Yeah.
Wash it off. And people will just like hose it off or spray it and then just start wiping it, and it's just like, sandpaper.
Yeah.
Not gonna do a very good job. So this might make a little mess. I hope not.
Andre make a mess? Come
Well,
on.
And like I said, this is just kind of,
Yeah, it's a demo.
yeah, it's a demo, because I actually need the hand stuff, which I don't have right now. So I might have to get this way.
Okay, that looks pretty good, Andre.
Yeah, there's still some. I'll get out of the way.
But look at that.
Yeah, that's way better. Yeah, look at the difference.
Yeah.
You can still see some of the little lines there, but
Yeah.
that's probably a crack or something. huh?
No, this stuff here is the wool.
Oh. That's way better.
Yeah, and if you feel it,
Yeah, this is like rough, and this is.
mhm.
That's really good.
So, like I said, when you get, and it actually looks like actually looks like a magic eraser. And I use the 1500 grit. I'm actually, I'm using a lot of elbow grease to try to get all this stuff off because you can't really push with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and for
It'll
one, it'll
plastic.
stop, and two, it won't do anything.
Yeah.
Because there's no give to it.
Yeah.
But when you use it by hand, like a lot of these kits, the reason why they give you the sponge is so you can get into it. But it's such a small thing to try to apply a pressure with a drill, which is that's why it's a piece that's about yay big, and you use your entire hand. Of course, I don't wear a ring or anything with it, and it really does a much better job, a more even job. And then once we get it looking like this, then you can buff it with a plastic polish, and then put something like Plexus or something on it, and it'll help that. So basically, what we've done is removed dry, nasty skin, maybe a micron, if that, off the surface. Because if I just did this like right here, it wouldn't do anything. It might lighten it a little bit, but we're actually physically, and you can look, if you look straight down here, this is all still yellow, and this is actually nice and like I said, this is just
that's a
Wow.
quickie one. But here,
Look at that.
look at this one. Put it against this one.
And if
See
you
that
think
one?
about it, this headlight alone being this is what, a first gen X5 or second gen?
First gen.
These are probably still $500 a piece because they're projector.
Yeah.
So,
I think they're like
and you can
Yeah, it's
find
like- it's like-
aftermarket ones, but aftermarket ones are garbage because
Yeah.
their plastic is even thinner. That's why I tell people, if you can afford the factory, go for the factory, because the aftermarket Chinese stuff, this all leaks.
Yeah.
Because it's never sealed. I bought new headlights for that truck. And the first thing I did was seal them with black RTV.
Yeah,
know?
I've done the silver one I have. You can remove the lenses. You pop these out and you can pry these things off, and they're a bitch to get back on. But you have to get new gaskets. But I'm on my second set in 6 years because the plastic's no
Plastic's crap.
good. But they're $120 a set, and they're just I'll just buy another set.
If you have to replace this entire unit,
Yeah, those are like $1,200 a pair, I think.
so $500-600. Yeah. Well, I'm using collision shop repair prices. Sorry, got a discount. Used to anyway. So yeah, I can do a little bit more to clean this up, and once I actually get hand sandpaper.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
But I mean, and you saw how long it took.
Yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't take that long.
Well, then you can get it's a safety issue too, because these lights don't go more than 30 yards now.
Yeah. I mean, I did one on my Taurus, and I did it real quick. I didn't even sand it. I just did it real quick, and the color temperature of the light changed. Mm-hmm. The one was really nasty yellow, and this other one was a lot whiter. And I was like, okay. So once I actually sand the stuff a little bit and do it, and you saw the car.
Yeah.
They look new.
Yeah, looks
And
good.
I have a brand new one for one side it was new old stock. It doesn't look that much different. It's still in the box, but it doesn't look that much different than the one I got on the car.
Yeah.
And I buffed the taillights, and it restored the nice deep ruby red, because you don't notice that once they start to oxidize, they become lighter and they become more pink.
Yeah.
So I that thing in, and now it's a nice red color. Because a lot of these cars you cannot find the lights for.
Yeah.
So you just run the buffer on it, like especially amber ones. Like I forgot which car we had. I could not find, no junkyards, nothing. So I'm like, okay. And somebody had hand painted some shit, so the overspray. So I took them out, sanded them down, buffed them out. They sparkled, and they became orange again because they were so UV deteriorated that they were chalky. And it's like, oh, you found new lights. I'm like, no, just buffed them.
You slaved.
I slaved. Shine, bitch. Sorry.
It's sparkle.
Fuck.
Sparkle?
It's sparkle.
Eh, sparkle. You're so queer. Oh my god. And cut!